So, another storyteller. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to go on the water. And welcome Wolfgang Schimansky to the stage.
All of us like to have nice surprises, but we don't like bad surprises at all. And this particular story is about bad surprise that happened to be life-threatening to 3 mariners in my past. It happened actually in 1963 off the coast of Luanda, which is the capital of Angola in West Africa. And our ship was laying in front of this in order to load a cargo of 500 tons of teak trees or teak logs. At the time, I was an able-bodied seaman, which is about halfway between starting and becoming an officer or a captain. And with us, we had a little tugboat in order to help for this freight to get on board. I was in charge of that tugboat. These trips we did 4 times a year. It started out in Hamburg, where we would load all kinds of cargo for different countries in West Africa, and then go to Holland, and then Spain and France, again loading up more cargo, and then turn around, cross the Biscaya Bay, and start in Dakar, Senegal, and just discharging all these cargoes until we get to the lowest point in Luanda, and then turn around, come back up again. These trips took 3 months. The point of loading those particular logs are complicated because they are large and heavy. These trees were felled in the jungle of Angola, then transported to the Kwanza River, made into floats of about 30 trees, and then trucked down the river into the Atlantic Ocean, where the ship was laying to pick them up and take them to Europe. On this particular day, I was just getting off my night watch. This was from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and went to get some breakfast and go rest. When I heard some unusual screaming and noises coming from the deck, and it's very unusual because a ship at anchor is quiet. There's nothing happening. Well, I quickly go on deck and take a look to my right into the coastline. Holy shit. I couldn't believe it. Our tugboat that I'm in charge of was sitting in the ocean, perfectly still, the engine off, and it was just floating in the stream of the river coming out of the jungle. 2 men on board, an officer and a sailor, and they were doing this. But from a mile away, I had no idea what that meant. But figuring out that this particular tugboat had no motor, but the river, water coming out from this river pushed everything in its way, including the tugboat, right into the ocean. And if we don't get to it quickly, it will never be seen again, because the current is very strong, about 4 knots. So quickly, we know it's an emergency, but what do we do? Well, the first thing that came to my mind, the officer in charge. And oh, there he is, on the second deck, looking down for the cargo as they are being loaded. And as he got a hold and saw the tugboat sitting in the water, not moving, he quickly turned around, went inside the superstructure, into his cabin, never to be seen again. Fleeing the emergency and also building deniability. What a guy. Right. Then the next thing, oh, the ship itself, we can use that. Well, a ship at anchor, in order for that to get going, you have to raise the anchor, obviously. You have to disconnect everything that's around the ship. Then you have to wait until the tide goes high enough so that you can get out over the sandbar that we had come over in order to get into the ocean. Basically 2 hours. Too late to save them. Oh, the crew. I'm looking on deck, there are several people just doing things. And I said, oh, they can help. And just like a choreography, all of them, there were only 9, just slowly turned away and disappeared from deck. So, wow, what if it had been them or me in the tugboat? So what's left is pretty easy. I got a very strong feeling of duty, urgency, and the need to save those men. So I quickly took my clothes, took them off, just everything but the underwear. Then I found a roll of rope, about 50 foot long, put it on my belly and tied it up, and the other end on the railing. Then I climbed over down to the logs, walked on the logs to the end of it, and into the ocean I went. No other way. And in the meantime, the tugboat keeps on driving this way, and I'm here. So I have to go this way in order to catch it with my rope. And I'm doing a pretty good job, except my lungs of a pretty good smoker were already complaining. And secondly, I never learned any good swimming other than the breaststroke. And in the water with the rope around you and the ocean waves, you get very tired quickly. And I've done everything I could possibly do until suddenly, I couldn't go anymore. I had a pull on my back, and the rope was coming to an end. I got so mad. What the? And then I saw I was at the end of my rope, literally. So I yelled at the people, whoever was on board, to stick another piece of rope on it. And someone did, and then my energy was almost gone because I had to be standing there treading water until there's a stupid rope back on. But I did manage, and I caught it in time. I touched the tugboat, gave the rope to the sailor, he put it on a cleat, and then the two of them pulled me up into the tugboat, and basically disaster was averted. Well, not quite. Unfortunately, that night, same time again, 6 o'clock, I come on duty. More noise, more yelling, but this time more celebratory and enjoying. What the hell is going on? Again, I'm going to go to the foredeck. And as I look down into the water, I said, no fucking way! They were 4 12-foot gray-white sharks going in circle under the light that they had hung, and there was a steel wire hanging with a chicken, and there was a meat hook in it so they could possibly catch a shark and have fresh fish. Well, that didn't happen. But then I thought, wait a minute, I was just swimming here a couple of hours ago. How come I'm not dead? And I didn't get a good answer then, but I learned a lot, which I'll share at the end. And I found out that these sharks were actually no danger. I learned that great white sharks, they're fully grown, 16 feet long, they are eating sea lions and seals and small whales. And no humans, they don't. Hey! The ones I saw next to the ship were actually teenagers because they were only 12 foot. Teenage great whites only eat rays and large fish. No humans. Oh, I see. So here's a little bit of a suggestion for you. If you ever run into a situation where you are in the territory of sharks, don't worry about it. You may not be on their menu. There's also some consequence of the situation. First of all, I learned never to do what I did going alone. That is totally stupid. Always have another team stand by. The second thing is communications. You have to have, today it's an iPhone, but then it would be walkie-talkie, that we can talk to these people and see why are they doing this. And we could have told them what to do with the rudder, because they could have easily turned the rudder to starboard. And as the ship is going, the tugboat is going this way, it would always go that way, which is where the ship was. So now I didn't have to go and jump in the ocean. Son of bitches. And the last thing is just that anything that you need in any kind of work, anything that moves and has to turn like an engine, so make sure they're in good condition, well-oiled and so on, and actually reliable. That's what I took away from that. And on the other end, on a personal issue, the officer that was so wonderful, he left the ship and was never seen again. And the seaman that was on the tugboat, he got himself a new pair of undershorts. Thank you.
So, fishtails. I'm not sure about the shark thing. Not eating people. If you're bouncing around there, we'll talk to Spielberg. He'll have some insight into it. Yeah. One of the great things about this program that we've been doing is meeting all of these wonderful new people and the various backgrounds and their lives that are so colorful and enriching, and the stories that they tell that you just look at them and say, my God, that's amazing. And, Wolfgang's story, this one that he just told, is just one of probably 100 that he has in his life. And I'll just give you a couple of things. He was born in Hamburg, Germany during World War II and lived through the bombings and everything else that went on there. As soon as he could, he left, and obviously he joined the Merchant Marines, where this story came from. He's currently 82 years old, and he tells me he's working on getting all the way up to 142. So if we do, bottle it and sell it. He's had an extremely varied life. At one point, he was importing folk ballets to the U.S. from Europe, Africa. He was importing folk ballets to the U.S. from Europe and Africa. He worked for a while as in a heating and air conditioning company in California, a life coach. He came to America in 1968 and began a successful career as a commercial property owner. Truly a American success story. Super. Thank you, Wolfgang.